Hello, everyone. My name is Darren, and I'm one of the marketing coordinators with BCIT's School of Health Sciences. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this information session for the Prosthetics and Orthotics program. First, I want to say how happy we are to see you all here. Thank you for attending our presentation today. And just want to let you know that you should feel free to post any questions or comments into the chat during the presentation, and we'll address as many of the questions as we can near the end of the presentation in the Q&A section. And if you could also please keep your microphones and videos turned off until the end of the presentation, just to reduce any connectivity issues and interruptions, that is greatly appreciated. Just before we get going, the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. Today's agenda, we have welcome and introductions. We'll do a quick poll, see where everybody is at. We'll watch a prosthetics and orthotics video. We'll go through the presentation and program overviews. We'll have some information from program advising, and then we'll do the Q&A at the end. To get us moving along here, it is my great pleasure to introduce Loren Schubert, the program head for Prosthetics and Orthotics.
Thanks, Darren. Welcome, everyone. Happy to have you all here. My name is Loren Schubert. I'm the program head for the Prosthetics and Orthotics program here at BCIT. I graduated from this program myself back in 2010, and I've been practicing as a certified prosthetist and involved in education ever since. It's an incredibly rewarding and exciting career in prosthetics and orthotics, and I look forward to being able to share just a little bit about our profession and our program over the course of this info session. So welcome.
Okay, thanks, Loren. We're going to watch the video right now.
Many people in our community require the use of prosthetic and orthotic treatment. A prosthetist provides treatment for patients with limb loss. This treatment includes the provision of an artificial limb, known as a prosthesis. An orthotist provides treatment for patients with physical impairments. This treatment includes the provision of an orthopedic brace, known as an orthosis. Both professions require patient assessments, fittings, and follow-up care as part of the treatment process.
I think an aspect of prosthetics orthotics that most people don't understand is that we're quite unique in the fact that we get to see a patient or a client from the very beginning of their treatment process, and you get to be influential and part of the rehab team right through to the end. The really neat thing is that you make lifelong relationships with these people, so those patients become your patients for life, and so you see them ongoing. Even once the rest of the rehab team is gone, you're still involved with their care long term. And in fact, most amputees in particular consider their prosthetist their primary health care provider, the ones that they find a really important part of their care. And orthotically speaking, I think we have a very unique approach to patient care, and that again we see the whole picture from start to finish. We have the ability to modify that treatment program, to make adjustments, to intervene and to make changes, and to go to the table with different types of options for them that are a really important part of taking them to the next level.
About 3.5 months ago, I had a skiing accident. They've prescribed me with this knee brace. The foot thing is basically allows me to walk as I would normally without an injury.
An undergraduate degree is a prerequisite to the 2-year diploma program, followed by a 2-year residency. A certification exam must be completed at the end of the residency to ensure qualification.
I like that right away we get our patient experience, and I also like that once a week we get to do rotations around the city, so that we can, for instance, we shadow orthopedic surgeons, physiatrists, physiotherapists, and we get to see patients from a different perspective. So we get to see them from the physiotherapist perspective and from the surgeon perspective, which is interesting when you compare it to how we see it with our own prosthetists and orthotists.
Prosthetic and orthotic practitioners work closely with other healthcare professionals such as physiotherapists and orthopedic surgeons to promote the highest standard of patient care. The field also relies heavily on the support of technicians, who are also specially trained for the prosthetic and orthotic field.
As a technical instructor, I try to teach the complexity of the manufacturing side of our profession. I try to expose them to the vast array of materials and procedures involved so that they can take that as a working knowledge and be comfortable applying that to their patients.
Every part of it I love. There's the personal satisfaction of actually getting to make something and fabricate something. There's the satisfaction of getting to help somebody in their lives. There's the fact that it's kind of artistic and yet at the same time very engineer-like. Just literally everything about it makes me excited to come to work every single day.
My leg lets me keep up with the other people in my class, especially in PE, and be really good in goalie. And pretty much, yeah, it helps me do most of the things that acquire moving.
The prostheses, it allows me to do anything I want to do. That, as I say, I cycle, I jog sometimes, I go in for long walks. It allows me to do my work. I'm on my feet most of the day. It allows me to live.
I would say that it's a creative science and an art that goes together, and you're basically using your knowledge of materials, and you're using your knowledge of biomechanics, you're using your knowledge of physics, but also interpersonal psychology and quality of life kinds of things. You're trying to create a device for somebody that they can actually use to improve their quality of life.
In our P&O profession, the people that get into it, they genuinely care about other people, and I think that's a big plus right there. And you know, one of the biggest misconceptions, I think people think that we just, you know, make people arms or legs or give them a brace. We just deliver a product. And to me, it's just really disheartening to hear something like that, because you know, you develop such great relationships with your patients. And you know, I think the colleges and the universities are really preparing the students very, very well right now. And there's so much interest in research in our field. And I think it's really good that you have the chance to do a lot of research projects and things yourselves. And with that, I think the future of prosthetics and orthotics is going to be amazing. To me, it's not just doing my job, it's just getting into it. I love it. After all these years, it's just one of the best things, and I'm so happy that I picked this field over other fields.
It's exciting to be a part of this field at a time where there's so much change and so much new technologies coming out, and so it'd be exciting to see where this field is going to head in the future, and it's cool to be a part of.
With the laughing for 10 minutes.
Once.
Oh, we're in this video.
Yeah, we're good, we're good.
Okay.
If you want one of these, I'll sell it to you.
What's that? As a technical.
So,
See that on camera.
The Canadian Association for Prosthetics and Orthotics is the national professional organization for the field of prosthetics and orthotics in Canada. It represents more than 500 certified and registered practitioners across Canada and internationally. Its purpose is to promote professionalism, ongoing education, and awareness to both its members and to the public, and to encourage outstanding clinical and technical skills in the field of prosthetics and orthotics.
Thanks for cueing the video there, Darren. So hopefully that video gave you a little bit of insight into the profession itself and what it means to be a prosthetist or an orthotist or both. From the video, you would have gathered that prosthetists and orthotists design and fabricate custom orthopedic devices, and we provide lifelong treatment, not just short-term, but we usually when somebody requires treatment from us, it's for a lifetime. So we do get to create some pretty amazing relationships with the patients we work with. Prosthetists work with those who have experienced limb loss. and orthotists work with those who require bracing or support for some sort of injury or pathology that requires an external device. And of course, in the picture in the slide here, most of you probably know who this is. It's Terry Fox, who is a Canadian hero for the impact he made related to cancer awareness. But he's also a local hero to those in the prosthetics and orthotics profession because of how he did it. Terry ran across Canada using a prosthetic leg, one that was actually designed and fabricated here in Vancouver. Although quite dated technology now, our profession helped to play a significant role in his life and enabled him to run all that way. We have the amazing opportunity to help patients just like Terry to achieve their goals and to return to a functional life by providing prosthetic and orthotic treatment. So a few fun facts about our program and our profession. So first off, it's a combination of art and science. We get to work with our hands, we get to work with people, we get to be creative and also integrate kind of current technology and current evidence in practice. And we get to build lifelong relationships with the patients we work with. It involves a variety of different backgrounds that we have our applicants when they come in, and then also in building on those courses that they've already taken as preferred courses throughout the courses in our program itself. So things like pathology, biomechanics, material science, anatomy, physiology. And it is constantly evolving in our profession. Over the years, things have been changing an awful lot with new technology and new materials and new techniques in practice. So it's no 2 days are the same, and it's constantly evolving. So a few highlights from our program. So first of all, it is a 2-year program made up of 4 terms with the summer off in between year 1 and year 2. We take 14 students every 2 years. So our cohorts only run 1 at a time. So we take students on even years. So our next intake will be for the class starting in September 2024. We have weekly clinical rotations. So every week, as alluded to in that video, our students have the opportunity to visit a variety of different prosthetic and orthotic clinics, as well as various allied healthcare professionals that P&O professionals work with. So everything from physiotherapists to doctors to all sorts of other allied healthcare that our patients work with and collaborate with. In addition to those clinical rotations, our students get to go on 2 4-week placements, so about a month long, and they do 1 in each discipline. So 1 in prosthetics, 1 in orthotics. And then our students also conduct a independent research project in pairs that kind of streams through the whole program itself and wraps up with a big presentation to stakeholders on BCIT campus in the auditorium. And it's a pretty big event and lots of fun. As well to note is that some of our students will decide to co-enroll in McMaster University's Master of Rehab Sciences program. So if anyone has questions about that, I'm happy to answer that. It is a program that fits in well with our program and enables students to gain some higher level competencies to use in practice. This is a picture of our old lab. We're now in a new space, which is pretty exciting. So, and hopefully we have a photo shoot coming up that we'll be able to update this slide. So we've got a new space, and one day I hope that you can all come and see it. But for now, just some job opportunities and kind of career outlook, what it looks like upon graduating from our program. So as alluded to in the video, after you graduate from our 2-year diploma program, you have to go through a 2-year paid residency anywhere in Canada, and that is through our national organization, Orthotics Prosthetics Canada, or OPC. And then upon completion of your residency, you complete a national certification exam. Lots of different opportunities upon graduation, everything from working in a small private clinic where you're doing a variety of different roles to maybe a hospital setting or a larger clinic of sorts where there's many clinicians and you have a lot of different admin or technical support. And so graduates can find themselves in all different types of environments, which is pretty exciting. And then in terms of disciplines, so upon graduation, you do need to complete, as I alluded to, the residency, and you can complete your residency in either prosthetics or orthotics, or you can decide to do both. It just takes a bit longer because you need to do a second residency in that other discipline. But there's a lot of carryover between both of the disciplines, and that's why we instruct both of them in our program. In terms of salary, you can expect resident salaries to be between 52 and 55,000, or approximately. And then upon certification, that can jump up to 55,000 to 105,000, or even greater for those looking to one day own their own practice. This slide here just shows a little bit more about the day-to-day practices of a certified prosthetist or orthotist in terms of the treatment that they provide. So kind of starting on the left-hand side here is this graduate is looking at performing an assessment. So a big portion of what we do is a thorough assessment on our patients, and that involves everything from a detailed patient history to a limb and kind of full body assessment. So we go through lots in terms of assessing someone's strength and range of motion and appropriateness for a device. And we look at their limb, whether it's they've experienced an amputation or an injury or pathology. We need to know a lot about what they have to work with and how to design the device for them. Once we have a good idea of that patient and their goals and their hopes for that particular device, then we can look at what that treatment plan looks like and kind of custom designing it to them. In the second picture there, we call this shape capture, or in this case, this graduate is using plaster, or we can also use fiberglass to capture the shape of this patient's limb or remaining limb. We also sometimes use a 3D scanner to acquire a digital shape. And that's really the starting point of creating a device, is looking at what kind of their remaining or their current anatomy looks like, and then we can build the device on top of that. And then in the third picture there, it's not quite as simple as just replicating their limb and then fabricating on top of it. We do need to rectify or change or adjust the shape of that positive model in order to suspend on the limb effectively or control body motions in a specific way. So this person in the third picture there is taking a plaster model and is kind of shaving it down or manipulating the shape of it prior to fabricating the device. And then in the last picture here, we can see this woman is working with a patient to evaluate the prosthesis or the prosthetic limb. And this is quite a lengthy process and can take multiple different appointments where we'd be looking at everything from comfort to the appropriateness of the fit, the suspension, how it's holding on, and then also looking a fair bit at the way that the patient is standing and walking with the device. So integrating kind of our knowledge of biomechanics and materials to really just optimize that and help the device to meet those patients' goals. This is one student from our last cohort who wrote a testimonial here, so I will read it out loud, even though it's a bit lengthy. I think it's a good one. Morgan says, there are a couple different factors that make me really love the profession of P&O, which is the short form for prosthetics and orthotics, if you hadn't caught on. I really enjoy the satisfaction of helping others. I like being creative when problem solving, but meticulous with follow through. And I enjoy the variety of working with my head and my hands. This profession allows me to have all of that in one place. I have the ability to connect with patients and help them meet their needs and goals. There is no one way of getting to a final answer when providing a treatment plan. So I get to use my clinical reasoning to decide what the best course of action is, which allows me to be creative. Since the devices are manufactured in-house, I also get to be creative about how those devices are designed in terms of material selection, fabrication techniques, etc. However, once that treatment plan is decided on, I get to be meticulous with the follow-through to ensure the device fits properly and meets the goals of the treatment. Overall, it creates a very rewarding profession to be a part of. So thanks, Morgan, for that one.
Excellent, Lauren. Thank you so much for that. I believe the next slide I'm going to take over for a bit, and I'll talk about some admissions information. And so I will be reviewing with you the entrance requirements and admissions process, along with briefly discussing some key student services that are available to you at BCIT. You can see the next start date is September 2024, so not this year, but next year. Good that you get thinking about it now in case there's any volunteering or other studies that you want to do before then. And the application period for next year's start in September is October 1st this year until March 1st next year. And it's offered every 2 years, as Lauren said. As of October 1st, you can apply for the September, and the department will select applicants after the deadline date of March 1st, 2024. Please note the application residency requirements. At this time, the program is currently only accepting applications from residents of Western Canada, specifically the provinces of British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. You must be a resident for 6 months or longer at the time that you apply, and a proof of residency is typically something like a bill or a piece of mail with a current address on it, but it must have a date on it and be addressed to that specific person. And you can also use a current driver's license or provincial ID as long as the valid from or issued date is at least 6 months ago and it is not expired. Filling out the online application is relatively straightforward. Once the application opens for each cycle, you can log in and review the online application. You can work on filling out the application at your own pace, as it does not go to admissions until you pay the application fee, and the date you apply does not have an impact on your application. You have until the application deadline date to submit your application. And regarding the application process, you will first review all entrance requirements and the application processing dates. You'll then upgrade if necessary, and BCIT does offer upgrading courses in many subjects. Program advising can assist you with this. Ensure that when you apply online that you have all of your required documents, such as transcripts, ready to scan and upload as PDF files. BCIT.ca/admission will guide you through the step-by-step application process. And once you are ready to apply online, you can visit BCIT.ca/apply. And the application fee for domestic students is $90 Canadian currently. The application process takes place entirely online. Therefore, you will need to convert your official transcripts and any additional documents that may be required to PDFs. And now let's review the requirements slide. As you can see, the minimum entrance requirements are proficiency in speaking and listening, 2 years full-time education in English or English-speaking country or equivalent test courses, English Studies 12, bachelor degree in any field from a recognized school, the Casper test, and the mandatory applicant questionnaire. And there are preferences given to applicants with the following: related experience, post-secondary academic level courses. Of course, there's anatomy and physiology with 6 credits, chemistry, grade 12, physics with 3 credits, statistics with 3 credits, or psychology with 3 credits. Academics and related experience completed within the last 5 years. And there are test course options for meeting English requirements. Please note, if you completed your post-secondary outside of Canada, the US, UK, New Zealand, and Australia, you are required to complete a comprehensive evaluation of your credentials by the International Credential Evaluation Service. A successful applicant profile is a knowledge of the profession, via work or volunteer experience. Most successful applicants have a 3.25 grade point average, 85% or higher in the last year of studies, the last 30 credits, and in preferred courses like anatomy, physiology, physics, statistics, psychology, and chemistry. You need better PowerPoint handling skills. No, I'm just kidding. You need a good interpersonal skills and demonstrated interest in working with people with disabilities, and a demonstrated interest in the welfare of others, and professional attitude. You need manual dexterity, ability to visualize in 3D, be a problem solver, a patient, professional, and mature manner. So as mentioned, as part of the online application, you will need to upload documents for a timely assessment to be completed, and you can download official digital transcripts, or you can convert your transcripts and documents to PDF files. And information on how to convert documents to PDF files is available on our website. For example, you can scan or take pictures of your official transcripts and save them as PDF files. And please ensure you upload all required documents to minimize delays in the application process. And the admissions process is admissions reviews the applications to ensure the requirements have been met. Admissions forwards completed applications to the P&O department. After the application deadline date, P&O department shortlists and selects applicants. Then admissions sends out acceptance letters, and then you pay the commitment fee. Currently, the commitment fee is $500. Now moving from academics, I would like to let you know BCIT is committed to supporting students in a holistic sense. We want you to succeed not only in your academics, but also outside of school. Some student services are available to you as a prospective student, and others will be available to you once you become an enrolled student. And here are some important student supports that I'd like to mention. If you are Indigenous, BCIT's Indigenous Initiatives Department is there for you. To ensure a smooth transition into your first year, they offer peer-to-peer mentorship, a welcoming gathering place, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding. BCIT's awards, scholarships, and bursaries are listed on our financial aids and awards webpage. And I'd like to mention we have a President's Entrance Award, and the selection is based on academic achievement, but also volunteer and community service. And you can contact financial aid directly for more information on that. BCIT is committed to providing assistance to students with permanent or temporary disabilities. If you have been accepted to a program and you believe you may need accommodation to be successful, I encourage you to connect with our Accessibility Services Department. And BCIT Student Health Services is a health clinic located at the BCIT Burnaby campus. They provide medical care for current BCIT students all year round. And we also have a counseling and student development department available to help you enhance your educational performance and maximize your success as a student at BCIT. And last but not least, our recreation services promotes, encourages, and enables the practice of physical well-being. And we consider recreation an integral part of campus life and welcome all students to enjoy their services. For more advising information, please contact, here's the telephone number here. And there's also drop-in advising, both in person and over Zoom. And you can also email program_advising@bcit.ca. If you have any questions after today, I encourage you to connect with Program Advising. And I highly encourage you to start following BCIT Health Sciences on social media platforms. And of course, there's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. Hopefully some more coming soon, but those are the good ones to get you started. And this is your opportunity to learn more about BCIT and your field of interest at your leisure. There's great stories and that we share, and these platforms will assist you in making a well-informed decision about your career choice. So if you do need more information, I have Loren's email address here and also Program Advising's email address. And just to let everyone know that a copy of the slide presentation will be sent out to all registrants sometime next week. Also a link to the YouTube link for this video, probably later in the week, next week. And that takes us to the questions and answers. So I haven't been watching the chat very closely, but I see that Maggie and Jennifer and Julie have been doing a lot of answering. I'm just wondering if anyone wants to unmute and ask any questions that haven't been answered. I think there was one maybe that was specifically for Loren. But
Hi, Darren, is it okay if I sort of maybe take over? I was monitoring the chat, so I've answered a lot of them, and I've been noting several of the questions that I wasn't able to answer that I was going to have hopefully Loren respond to aloud. Is that all right?
Yes, please. Thank you, Maggie. Much appreciated.
Perfect. That's great. So Loren, the first question, I'm just going to go in order. So your question, I'll definitely get to it if I haven't gotten to it yet. So it's just going to go in order. The first question was from Olivia, and she asked, do you find prosthetics and orthotics clinics usually respond positively to students asking to shadow or volunteer?
Yeah, great question, because we do request that you have a good understanding of what the profession is about before applying, and to ensure that you have a competitive application. And this really is to ensure that the students that we select into the program are going to stick with it. Because we're such a small program, we really want it to come across and be the case that our graduates continue on into the profession, because there is a high demand for P&O graduates. So in terms of reaching out to clinics, I think your timing is probably key in that, leading up to the closer and closer to the application window, clinics will likely get more and more people reaching out to them. And so you kind of become one of many. And so your opportunities may be a little bit more limited. Maybe, you might end up with the ability to have a phone call or, a very brief session in person at a clinic. But my recommendation would be to reach out early or earlier. And if you reach out to one clinic and don't have success, I encourage you to keep on trying. There's probably about 10 or more prosthetic and orthotic clinics in the Lower Mainland, and I'm sure you'll come across one that would be interested or would be okay with you coming in for part of a day or a full day, or maybe might even have an opportunity for you to come and volunteer or a work position. So be persistent, and if you don't get success with an email or contact us type of method, then feel free to give them a call and see if you can find a way to just get to know the profession a little bit more. You won't be the first person to have called them, so they probably have some sort of policy or mechanism in place for responding to calls like yours or emails like yours. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great response. Thanks, Loren. Molly had a question. It's a little bit specific, but I thought it might be good regardless. So Molly has graduated from Capilano University with a diploma as a rehab assistant. However, they also have experience as an OTA and PTA. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. And have also the amount of credits to earn a degree at BCIT, however, have not obtained the actual degree. So with a diploma in rehab, and if they took any additional courses like physics, chemistry, stats, etc., would there be a chance to potentially qualify, or is there the requirement about having that undergraduate degree of 120 credits? Pretty much you have to have that to apply.
Yeah, so we do require, like, our minimum entry to practice is an actual degree on paper, or that's been provided on your transcript. So even though you may have the credits to make up 120 or the equivalent number of credits for a degree, we do require the actual degree or an undergraduate degree to have been granted from an institution. So I'm not sure, maybe advising would be better able to navigate that question about how to go about collecting all of those courses together and actually considering that a degree, but we do require that as a minimum entry to practice or entry to the program.
Yeah, fair enough. No problem. Thank you so much. And then Audrey had a question about the rotation placements. Are they generally local, or can they be all over Canada or in the province, all over the province as well, potentially?
Yeah, so just to clarify, so our weekly rotations are all close by. There's no expectation to go to province every week. So our weekly rotations are across the Lower Mainland BC, usually within about a half an hour drive at the most. But our two practicums, which are 4 weeks each, we allow our students to essentially select their own. And so we provide enough support to, places that students have been in the past, but we're also, we also want to encourage students to reach out. And, if you live out of province, then we want to give you that opportunity to do a practicum out of province and not be restricted. So as long as you're doing your practicum under a certified prosthetist or orthotist, you can go anywhere in Canada.
Awesome, thank you. And then Pierce had a question on the entrance requirements page for the program, and I believe that they're referring to the preferred requirements, not the mandatory. So there's the section that says that biomechanics is not accepted in place of 3 credits of physics, and they're asking why. Why is that there? Like, why could you not take a biomechanics course?
Yeah, so what we're after with the preferred courses is really kind of a building block into the program, and so we're really after your ability to perform mathematical and kind of manipulations to mathematical equations in terms of the physics component. Often biomechanics courses can focus a lot on the body specifically and kind of movement to do with the body, of course. And sometimes there can be calculations associated with that, but what we found is that sometimes those courses are not very calculation based and won't provide a good basis for our understanding that students will have success when they get into our program. So for that reason, we really do push for a competitive entry to have a physics course, because and to perform well in a physics course, because that really displays to us your background in mathematics or physics to be able to work with numbers and have success in our program.
Okay, that's great response. Thank you. And then Olivia had another question, another follow-up. They mentioned, or they asked, I should say, do you count volunteer programs or experience, I guess, that are from international experience? So if it could be overseas, or does it have to be Canadian or BC based?
Yeah, no, I would say that, you know, really prosthetics and orthotics is probably different depending on the location that you're at, but at the same time, our profession has many similarities internationally. So I would say that if you have had experience or shadowing or, you know, work internationally, then absolutely that would qualify as related experience on your application. If you get an opportunity to check something out locally, it might be nice just because there are differences, but absolutely, please do that and do include that in your application.
Awesome. And then Janelle has asked, how competitive is the GPA for getting into the program, and how many applicants were their last intake? I could probably look up that in a sec, but if you know offhand, Loren, if you would be able to respond.
Yeah, so we don't have a minimum GPA for applicants, but in general, our successful applicants usually have about an 85% average or higher in their last year of academics or 30 credits. Sorry, the second part to your question was
how many applicants? And I do believe reading that's typically about a 3-to-1 ratio. Is that correct?
Yeah, so last time around we had between 50 and 60 applicants for our 14 seats.
Wow, yeah, okay. And then Jason has asked, how many seats are available specifically for Alberta applicants for the next intake?
Yeah, so dependent on kind of the agreements in place between provinces, it can vary from year to year. But my understanding is the current number of seats that are allocated for Alberta students is 3.
Awesome. And then Molly has just asked, when they mentioned piano technician in the video, so I guess the video we saw at the beginning, were they talking about the piano, or is that a separate job that works alongside the piano?
You would have seen a prosthetic orthotic technician. And so a technician is more the behind the scenes fabrication side of things. And so that is a different role, and that can take the form of either someone who's gone to school. George Brown College in Toronto, Ontario has a school program where you can do 2 years to learn kind of all of the fabrication techniques and the theory behind that. Or you can kind of just perform on-the-job training. So you don't actually need a background or educational background to work as a technician in prosthetics and orthotics. Our program really focuses on the clinical side of prosthetics and orthotics. So the front line with the patient and working directly with everything to do with the patient. That being said, we also do educate in fabrication techniques, and all of our students do fabricate all of their own devices for their volunteer patients throughout the program. But our focus is primarily on the clinical side.
And then Audrey's asked 2 questions. Is there a preference in Casper score, and how heavily is volunteer experience weighed in the application process versus the grades and education?
Yeah, good questions. They're very specific. So I'm not at liberty to share the exact weighting of all of the different aspects that we look for in our candidates, but I can tell you that there are 4 components that we look at. One being academics, and that's a comparison or a look both at the academics in your overall GPA and in the preferred courses, which is why we do highly recommend taking those preferred courses for a competitive application. Usually, almost all of our successful students have taken those preferred courses, aside from maybe 1 or 2 students that might have all courses but one. And then we look at the mandatory applicant questionnaire, which really is where is your opportunity to share about your knowledge about the profession, your experience to date. And really this is where it comes across very strongly if you have a good understanding about what it is to be part of the P&O profession. And then as far as Casper goes, we do have a Casper cutoff score, but I'm not able to share exactly what that cutoff score is. So you do need to score above that cutoff to be considered for a competitive application or for a seat in the program. And then historically, we've also had an interview component, which we have had replaced with Snapshot, which was another product similar to Casper, but kind of an online video response tool. That's been phased out, so we're looking at bringing in a BCIT version of that, that we would have a variety of questions and kind of a very short interview.
Okay, great. And from my understanding, with Casper, once you guys have registered on Casper's site, you then have access to a free test bank. So just as an FYI for everyone, it's not really a test from my understanding that you will study for, but you can definitely check out the free test bank and just kind of have a look at past exams and what applicants have been asked. That would be a good resource as well. So that was on the Casper Acuities website once you've gone on there. And then Loren, Jason has just asked, does having a letter of reference or letter of recommendation from a CO, CP, CPO improve chances of being accepted into the program?
Yeah, good question. And we do get those, we do have letters that are sent in to accompany applicants that go kind of along with the mandatory applicant questionnaires in their submissions. Unfortunately, because we don't make this a requirement or even necessarily a recommendation, we can't equally assess all of our applicants in the same way. So we don't make that a requirement, and we don't have that as a recommendation. So you're welcome to send them in if you would like and acquire them if you'd like, but typically we do not factor that into the assessment of our applicants.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Sheehan, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, has just asked, again, I think it's something you already addressed, Loren. Is it recommended to take all of the preferred courses, or were there any candidates who got into the program with only half, for example, of preferred courses? But I think you pretty much already touched on that it is definitely strongly recommended to take those courses.
Yeah, I would recommend taking all of those courses. And really the strongest ones, or the most highly recommended ones, I would say, would be your anatomy, physiology, and your physics. Are probably the two that students struggle the most with if they haven't had a background in either of those courses. So I would focus on those two. If you are looking to take some, but not all of them, those two would be the most important ones.
Okay, awesome. And oh, sorry, Darren, I'm just gonna one more question if we can sneak in.
Elson
has just. Is that okay? Sorry.
Yeah, that's
Elson
okay.
has just asked, if I don't meet some of the requirements, but would there be an exception if I've been working as a tech for 2 years? Well, I can quickly say, Elson, if it's the mandatory requirements, there would be no exception, but I'm not sure if anything that would be considered with the preferred requirements. So maybe Loren can just quickly respond to that component.
Yeah, I would say your experience as a technician working as a technician would be excellent in terms of your ability to respond to the mandatory applicant questionnaire in terms of that portion of the weighting of the decision to be made. But in terms of the academic requirements, it wouldn't really fit in that side of things.
Thank you. So I think that's all the questions. So Darren, go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you, Megan and Loren, for that. That was a great Q&A. Thanks for all the great questions, everyone. I just want to let you know that if you have more questions after this, there's Loren's email address up here. If you have program specific questions, and if you have more admissions program advising questions, there's program underscore advising at bcit.ca. They'd be more than happy to answer your questions. We've gone a little over time, but thank you for that. It's another reminder that a copy of the slide presentation and links to the YouTube video will be going out later next week to everybody. So you don't have to take notes or anything like that. And I just want to say a great big thank you. to everyone for being with us today, and we wish you all the best in your future in health sciences. So thanks and have a great night, everybody.